Lamar Jackson losing weight, Nate Wiggins has a superpower, this and much more on this episode of Purple Rain Podcast. Yes, welcome back to episode 238 of the Purple Rain Podcast, the Mike Anderson episode, the Jalen Parmalee episode, the Ben Mason episode, the Terrell Bonds, Omar Brown, and Kevon Seymour episode. Some names for number 38, by the way. Some
I know, right?
crazy names. Yeah, but thank you if you are watching live or if you're part of the hashtag replay gang. Let us know in the comments below. But you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. Follow this guy on Instagram, on Twitter at Sutton Def. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10. .prod and on Twitter at simplyas10. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. You can see the shirt that my friend Sutton here is wearing. Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. They indeed will after using the Manscaped products. Whether it be the ball deodorant, whether it just be the lawnmower, you know? I mean, I probably use it on my face, unfortunately. But man, it does wonders. I'll tell you that. The weather right now is not warm, not for the weekend. So you won't need the ball deodorant just yet, but give it a week or so. I promise it'll be a thing of beauty. But happy Friday Eve. Happy Thursday to everybody out there watching live or on the replay gang. How are you doing and how was your week, Sutton?
The week is going well. Like you said, it's Friday Eve. We're right there knocking on the door of the weekend. So I'm feeling good. The weather's pretty good this week. You were the first one to let me know it's going to be rainy this weekend, so that kind of sucks, but it's all good. We've got plenty of warm weather weekends to look ahead to. So I'm doing well. We've got some news coming out of the Ravens camp about Lamar Jackson, like you led the episode with. I really want to get into that. And then a couple other things as well that we want to touch on. But I'm doing well. I hope the whole Rain Gang is doing good as well. Make sure you like this video. If you're just getting in here, if you're part of the live Rain Gang chat, make sure you like the video, and subscribe to the channel as well. If you're new and this is your first time seeing our faces, yes, my name is Sutton Def. That is simply S10. We run the Purple Rain Podcast. We talk Ravens football. We talk NFL. We talk other sports as well. This guy's he's big into soccer. I'm big into MMA, basketball, that sort of thing. We cover it all here at the Purple Rain Podcast. You guys just got to let us know what you want to hear more of. But again, thank you guys for all coming through. Antoine Mastro in the chat says first live chat.
Welcome,
Antoine. Thank you for coming through to this episode. Yes, welcome to the Purple Rain Podcast. Welcome to the Rain Gang, which is what we call our viewers here on Big Happy Family. So, okay, I want to go ahead and get into what we came here to get into, Alex, if that's okay with you.
Let's do it.
All right. So Lamar Jackson losing weight, right? So this is something that we actually kind of touched on maybe a couple of episodes ago before it really started to gain traction as something that people are really, really talking about, right? So today there was an interview done by, who was it? Kay Adams, right? Kay Adams, she interviewed Isaiah Likely, and it was very interesting what he had to say about Lamar Jackson and his weight loss. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this video up so we can all kind of watch it together, right? Let me see. Give me a second, and boom. Now, the most important part about this, guys, is the audio for sure. So if the video is a little bit choppy, it's all good. It's just worry about what you hear. You know what I'm saying? Worry about what you hear. That's what's important here. Okay. So let's hear what Isaiah liked to say about Lamar Jackson and his weight loss.
Right? Or no, he's gaining weights. What's going on with Lamar?
So, so I guess he was like 230, 235 my rookie year. And then now he's slim. So like the first time I seen L, he came back and we were going, and like I'm walking, I'm looking up and I'm like, who is it?
What?
And then and he run over to me. I'm like, man, wait, what you ain't been eating, L? And he's like, man, like I'm good now. He's like, I'm back running how I am. And then L.
Don't scare me now. Say what?
I'm just gonna say now. If y'all thought L was fast before, and L couldn't get caught before.
I'm leaving. I can't. I got this weebly wobbly Bengals helmet back there, just trying to hold on. And you're telling me right now that he's a 205 fast. His strength and conditioning coach Scott Elliott said he's never been more excited in April for Lamar Jackson. Are you telling me that there's yet another level to this cat that we have not seen? This MVP?
I don't know if unanimous is gonna be the word this year. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh
shit, that's terrifying. Okay.
Very interesting word from Ravens tight end 2 Isaiah Likely, basically saying that Lamar Jackson looked a little bit unrecognizable. You know, he asked Lamar Jackson, what have you been eating, but what haven't you been eating? You know, because he's noticeably slimmed down. And, you know, Lamar Jackson told Isaiah Likely that, you know, back to my old ways again. Like I'm feeling springy, I'm feeling fast, you know. And I want to get your take on all this, Alex. But the first time that I heard all this, I immediately thought about the AFC Championship game and him getting run down by L'Jarius Sneed. That is what it goes to in my mind, because I think he knows he should have pulled away there, or at least gotten a much bigger chunk of yardage before somebody was able to catch up to him. But I mean, old school Lamar, right? Early on in his career, Lamar, that's a house call. That is a house call. I'm sorry. Like, he's taken that to the house. That really kind of messed with him, because he never really came out and said why he got caught there, but everybody was talking about it, right? He never really said why. So I think maybe might have internalized that, say, you know what? I've bulked up the past few seasons. Let me go ahead, lose a little bit of weight. That way, when I come back, I can be just as fast as I was before and more electric than the past couple of seasons. But what was your initial reaction to all of this, Alex? Is it you know, I want to ask you the question, is it good or bad for the Ravens? I want to get to that question eventually. Is it good or bad for the Ravens, whether or not he slimmed down? But I want to get your initial reaction to what Isaiah Likely said.
So obviously excited, you know, hearing Likely, you know, say like, you know, how fast he is. You know, we're going to see a whole different level from him. But I do think it's good. I think it means there might be less design quarterback runs. He won't be taking as many hits, I'm hoping. You know, he did put on weight, it felt like, because he would be taking hits. And, you know, wouldn't be getting as banged up. But I feel like with Derrick Henry, that kind of isn't needed. You know, you don't need 10, 12 Lamar Jackson carries a game to win. Maybe 3 or 4, and 2 of them could be scrambles. But I think it's good news relatively. And then, but just I'm right there with you. We haven't seen as many of those, you know, longer runs, and the last one was against the Dolphins in 2022, where he just broke off at home. That awful game they came back. That's the last one I can think of that he, you know, took for a touchdown from, you know, a noticeable distance away. And I think in 2020 he took one 50 yards against Cowboys, Eagles, and the football team at the time. That was 3 long touchdowns in one season he had, and we didn't see that as much. So I definitely think he realized that part of his game, you know, went away, and him dropping the weight can bring that speed back. So I'm all for it. I think it just actually adds another dynamic, you know, to this offense, which I'm not complaining about. And then him with Henry, I mean, you have your power and your speed in one guy, and you have your speedy quarterback as well. I'm all for it. So I'm loving it. You're muted.
Yeah. Sorry. But I can't say that I'm loving it, to be honest with you. I can hardly even say that I like it. And here's my reasoning behind that. I mean, I think that Lamar Jackson is trying to recapture his younger self and his younger athleticism, when that will never come back. I think that's just the reality of things. Like, when you are playing at the absolute highest level of a sport, you're only going to regress. You're not going, like, athletically, right? You're not going to become more and more athletic. When you enter in these leagues at 22, 23, 24, somewhere in that range, you're in the prime of your life physically. You know what I mean? Like, physically, you're in the prime of your life around that age. And Lamar Jackson, he's had some wear and tear on his body. He's had some eye words here and there. Granted, he wasn't really hurt last year, but he's had some I words. So the fact that he's trying to cut weight to get some more speed back, even though that speed might not even look the same as it did in 2019 and 2020 and 2021 and a little bit of 2022, it might not look the same because he's older. He's gonna get slower. That's the thing. I would have rather him keep the weight on, especially since he's already had the weight on past 2 seasons. And the reason why he put the weight on was so he could take more hits, but another big thing, and I want to know what you think about this. The biggest reason why I can hardly even say that I like it is because Lamar Jackson losing weight, while yes, he might be able to scramble and get around defenders a little bit easier and get upfield a little bit quicker, at the same time, what happens when it's time for him to throw the football? With a lighter frame, it's going to be tougher for him to make those deeper, intermediate to deep throws, and one thing we had a criticism about Lamar, what was it? Underthrown balls, right? Those underthrown balls were not something that we wanted to see from Lamar Jackson. And I think that he lightens up, because when you lighten up, it affects your whole body, right? It affects your arm strength. It affects the weight you're able to put behind the ball when you're trying to push the ball down the field, all these things. So don't be surprised. All I'm saying, if he goes into the season 205, do not be surprised if you see some underthrown passes and that annoys the hell out of you. That's just what I think. What do you say to that?
There was the clip when he was with Alphonso Davies in Bayern Munich when he ripped a deep ball to him, and I'm like, that deep ball looked better than anyone I saw all of last year. And it was I want to say 50, 60-yard bomb he threw to him in Germany. So, I mean, when the time comes, we'll see it. But honestly, right now, it's May 9th. Who knows what he goes in at the to the season. There could be in training camp or in mini camp, and they're like, you know what, Lamar, maybe you put on, 10 to 15. Maybe, we don't like the way you're looking, and it changes. It's just like we're in the dead season right now. So we're talking about our quarterback's weight when we still have how many more months to go. But if he goes on 205, genuinely don't care. He'll still be MVP candidate for the, third, fourth, fifth year in a row. But you do make a good point about the arm strength. I mean, that's the biggest criticism of his game is the deep passes. And hopefully we have a receiver that can, track these deep balls, I hope, in Tez Walker. And, that's kind of the comparisons he's got is to Torrey Smith. And Torrey Smith, could track a deep ball, could get us some PIs. So I'm hoping, that's kind of like the last element of this offense that we have to unlock is the deep pass, the big plays through the air, not through the ground, through the air. So if we can do that, this offense will be in great shape. But I agree with Antoine here. Maybe I don't think he'll stay at 205. I think, he's just there right now, off season. Who knows what he goes in the season now? We'll find out as the time comes.
Yeah. And I see some people in the chat saying that he was mostly overthrowing passes. I don't know. I've seen both, to be honest with you. But the underthrows annoy me just a little bit more because the underthrows are more liable to get picked off. You know what I mean? Because the defender is more likely to be in that area. And it's just annoying to see. I mean, we even saw that in like training camp videos going into last season. Like he was underthrowing guys and, wasn't leading guys, wasn't throwing guys open, that sort of thing. That's always been the criticism with Lamar Jackson's arm. And I think that with him fluctuating in weight so much, so being 230 a couple years ago and then dropping down to 215 or 220, and now he's 205. He's kind of been all over the place in his career, and I think that doesn't necessarily do his arm mechanics a whole lot of favors, especially since he's been actively trying to develop those arm mechanics ever since he's been in the league. So I can't say I love it. I can hardly say I like it. The only thing I like about it is, yes, he's going to show a little bit more of that speed as we saw earlier in his career. But again, it still might not look the same. It still might not look the same as it did early in his career, because it's something that goes with age. Speed goes with age. You know what I mean? It's just a natural thing in life. So we will see what he's able to do. And again, I do agree with you, Antoine, where I don't think that he'll actually go into the season at 205. But then again, I don't know. Because if you look at the Complex interview that Lamar Jackson had, he said that, he's going to be a problem because he is this weight. So with that being said, that implies that he plans going into the season at around 205, at the max 210, and I think 210 would probably be the more ideal weight, that extra 5 pounds, as body armor, because Lamar Jackson, he likes to hang out in the pocket. He doesn't always want to scramble around. He's going to hang in the pocket as long as humanly possible, and if there's absolutely nothing there, he's going to run. So having that extra QB body armor, as they call it, right, would be beneficial for him, that extra 5 pounds. So if we want the best of both worlds, I'd say maybe go into the season about 210, but 205 is really, really pushing it. 205 is pushing it. Let me see. Bay Raven says, and they lose weight during the season, he might be smaller. Yeah, also true. Now, Alex, you brought up a point about when he went to Bayern a couple of weeks ago, and he was throwing like 50-60 yard passes. Only pushback I would give you on that is like that's not in a heated game time moment, right? At game speed, he's not tired. You know what I mean? So he's got all of his strength. Literally, he's at 99 stamina at that point. But in a regular football game, he's not, over the course of a regular football game, he's not going to always, have the perfect situation, be in the perfect spot to throw the pass, and have the perfect arm angle and everything like that, because he's got guys rushing him. He's tired because it's the third quarter. And, there's a bunch of coaches in his helmet telling him which decisions to make pre-snap. So, yeah, it's a lot that goes into that. That's the only pushback I'd give you there.
Yeah.
So interesting stuff there. Lamar Jackson losing weight is I can't say that it's like big news, because like my guy Alex said, I mean, we're in freaking May. We still have 3 months until football comes back around. So there's just there's a lot of time for other things to happen. So we'll just have to wait and see. You got anything else on that?
No, it's a typical May headline for football. I mean, I'd rather that be our headline than what the Chiefs are going through right now, honestly, with Rashid Rice. So I'll take that being the news that we get from the Ravens, that our quarterback lost weight. I'll take that in any day of the week instead of our receiver punching photographers.
You know what? You make a good point. I'll also take this news of Lamar Jackson losing weight. I'll take this news over the news of him tweeting about requesting a trade any day. I'll take this news over that
there we
news
go.
Any day of the week. You know what I mean? So,
or T. Higgins talking about Cincinnati in a certain way, kind of, clapping at their fans and at the city.
I saw something.
I'll take
about
that too.
Yeah.
What
was that all about?
Basically, it was like one of his, like, I think friends was in like a back and forth with a Cincinnati fan. It's like, that's why it must be all that chili and something that you guys are eating. And somebody's like, T. Higgins, you gonna let him say that? And Higgins is like, my boy's got a point. I'm like, oh, that's like basically somebody saying, that's because all the crabs and seafood you eat, you guys aren't smart. And, imagine somebody from the Ravens like, well, it's not wrong. Basically.
Right. Yeah, that would be a bad look. That would be a very bad look.
T. Higgins, do you like crab cakes, my friend?
Right, exactly. Antoine in the chat, he's asking, what's the Rice situation, the Rashid Rice situation? Well, I know that he was. Go ahead. My bad.
No, besides the whole car incident, which is still under investigation from the NFL, he was accused of punching a photographer, and apparently there's DMs saying that like he DM'd the photographer saying, "Come to here, like come back to here." Photographer's like, "Oh, he wants me to take pictures of him." As photographers, I mean, I do the same thing. If you had an NFL player DMing you saying, "Hey, come here," you're probably going to go there because that means you're going to take pictures of him. And instead, he allegedly punched him.
So I wonder, like, what the reason
if I missed
was.
Anything.
Like, what? That's so weird. It's so strange. Like, for Rashid Rice to be in the situation that he's already in, and then to like pour more dirt on top of his grave, like that's absolutely. It speaks to his character, for one. It speaks to his like judgment, for two, and it's just, I don't know. It's just not smart things. You would think that like these millionaires who have it all, you know what I mean, would just stay out of trouble. You have the money to stay out of the way and find you a hobby that you genuinely find interest in outside of football, or find you a relationship, somebody who's genuinely interested in you. Just all these other things, instead of like crashing out literally right over dumb shit. Like, it's just, I don't understand it. So we got Yolanda in the building. Says, good evening, Rain Gang. What's going on, Yolanda? Appreciate you for coming through. Y'all go check out her YouTube channel. Y'all, she's really doing big. Please check her out. Ravens Talk with Yolanda. What were you about to say though, bro? My bad.
No, and I think about Rashid Rice. He's genuinely in one of the best situations a receiver that you're getting drafted in the NFL can be. Number one, you know the Chiefs are going to, utilize you. You know you're going to get your bonuses. You know you're going to possibly have a chance to get playoff bonuses, Super Bowl bonuses. Your first year, you win a Super Bowl. You're with, to me, a quarterback who is on pace to be the best of all time. You're with arguably the greatest tight end of all time, arguably the greatest offensive mind head coach of all time. Everything around you is set for you to succeed. And you sit here and you just throw it away. You possibly throw it away. I don't get it. I mean, you won a Super Bowl your first year. The Chiefs have been to how many consecutive AFC Championship games? How many Super Bowls in the past 5 years? You're in a dynasty. Don't fuck it up. And that's what you're doing. It's
literally, man. It's like all that, those blood, sweat, and tears, the hard work that you put in since you were literally an elementary schooler. I don't know when Rashid Rice started playing football, but for most of these guys, it was Pee-wee, before they even learned how to, do a lot of adult type of things or independent type of things. They were playing football, so like for you to invest your entire life's work into this, and to just want to just throw it away over these irrational decisions, like you said, it makes no sense at all. It does not add up. Would love to have a one-on-one sit down with some of these guys to kind of pick their brains and kind of see like, okay, this is where my head is at as just like a normal, non-famous, not rich human being. Like, this is what my day-to-day is like, right? I wish that I had the same physical ability that you have so I could make millions of dollars playing a sport that I love. Like, don't take that for granted, because there's a lot of people out here. There's a lot of people out here that are doing well, that still are nowhere near where you're at in terms of success. So it's a privilege that you got to take care of, man. You just have to.
It's with so many of these guys. Like, I think of Henry Ruggs too. He had all the talent in the world. And one night, and like, hearing Derek Carr say, he told all the guys, like, just call him. Like, that's your quarterback. That's Derek Carr. Like, he would come and pick you up, and you end up taking an innocent woman and her dog's life. Like, it just pisses me off. Like, you just like want to have that talk with them.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead and get off the heavy stuff here. And I want to pull up an article that you sent me right before we went live. This one is about GM Eric DaCosta saying some kind words about Ravens' new draft pick, Nate Wiggins, first round, that is. Alex, go ahead and break this down for what's on here.
Yeah, so in the article, basically, we talked about it on Monday, how we turned down 8 different trade proposals to get Nate Wiggins at pick 30. A lot of people were calling us about him and asking about him, or asking for the pick, and we were like, no, it's not going to happen. So basically, DaCosta said he has a superpower. He said he looks at Nate as just great feet, speed, and coverability. Guys don't get open against him. He can just flat out cover, and that's really important. His quality, his superpower is when he's covering a guy, there's going to be very little space. He's got ball skills. He anticipates well. He can close and recover. So I think you want an all-around guy. You want a guy that does everything pretty well. But when you're talking about a first-round corner, you want traits that will put him ahead of everybody else. And I think he shows that. It's just kind of, to me, reinforcing, I think, how good of a pick this was at 30. We weren't expecting a corner at 30, but when a guy like him falls, and once again, because of his weight, basically is why he fell, it just is like making me love the pick even more. So we have, to me, a day one corner starter who will probably be number 3 on a depth chart come week 1. Knock on wood. That's insane to me. A guy that has all these traits will be number 3 cornerback on the Ravens defense roster, on the secondary. So just seeing that, reading that, it got me really excited to see, this guy in preseason, regular season, and I'm just amped to see him. So I'd love to get your take on this. I saw that and I was like, wow, like, EDC did it.
Yeah, I really do like what I'm hearing from him here. Now, you did mention the fact that his weight is an issue. I do think that the strength and conditioning coaches and the nutritional coaches, all those people, the castle we'll make sure that is all squared away when it comes season time. But you mentioned something interesting. You said that he's going to be a day one starter, probably our cornerback 3, which sounds about right to me. That is huge. And Eric DaCosta mentions that Nate Wiggins has some sort of superpower. And I know that a lot of people, including myself, were not the happiest that the Ravens decided to go DB in round 1 of this past draft. But when you consider the fact that the Ravens secondary is already a powerhouse, even without a Nate Wiggins, and then you add a Nate Wiggins, so a first-round talent, just like we added another first-round talent a couple years ago in Kyle Hamilton. We know how that's panning out. That secondary is the unsung hero or superhero with a superpower on this Ravens team. Nobody really talks about it. It's all about Lamar Jackson. It's all about Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, you know what I mean? Isaiah Likely, even Roquan Smith, that sort of thing. Nobody really talks about just the cohesion of that secondary when you have Marlon Humphrey and Brandon Stevens and Kyle Hamilton and Marcus Williams, which are all studs. They're all studs. They're not, maybe not all household names, but anybody who watches football intently knows at least who 4 out of those 5 guys are. You know, like it's a superpower. It's a true superpower of this team that nobody talks about secondary. And I love the fact it's growing on me. The Nate Wiggins pick is growing on me because we've made that position group even stronger. So I think it's going to not defenses, but offenses hell this season. And I'm loving the pick, and I'm loving the sentiment shared here by Eric DaCosta.
Yeah, and I think when you think of the Ravens defense last year, I think secondary was talked about the least. I think the only person talked about in the secondary was Kyle Hamilton. I don't think anybody talked about Stevens. To this day, I still don't think anybody talks about Stevens outside of Baltimore. Yeah. Marlon was not talked about because he was banged up. Marcus Williams banged up. I still think he had the most pass deflections for a safety. I will have to double check that, but I think that's what the stat was. But when you think about the Ravens defense, it was all the sacks we got, Madubuike, Clowney, Van Noy, and you think about our linebackers, PQ and Roquan. Our secondary was not talked about at all. So maybe it was the lack of interceptions, which is a good point, but we were locking down receivers. Look at Jamar Chase's stats against us the 2 games we played in last year. Brandon Stevens had him in hell. Like, Brandon Stevens stepped up so much last year, and I hope we can keep him, but if not, he's in line for a great payday. And then, get in Nate Wiggins, who has it all. I'm right there with it. What's going on, Jason? How are you doing on this lovely Thursday? But yeah, I mean, yeah, this is just lovely to see. And like you said, with our secondary, and then you get Millette back as well. So Millette's your 4th corner. So you can do so many things with the secondary now.
Yeah.
And we lost to Geno Stone, who had 7 picks.
We did 7 picks, man. That was a fever dream. That season for him was a fever dream. 7 interceptions is crazy. I think he finished like 3rd? He finished 3rd like with all players in interceptions or something like that. Might have been like tied for 3rd.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think the guy from the Cowboys had the most. Deron Bland.
Bland, right. Yeah. Yolanda says she's still upset about losing Stone to the Bengals at that. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
I love him.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, I mean, the secondary is again, it is the unsung hero of this Ravens team. You can go back and look at the numbers last year. Literally one of the best secondaries in the league, one of the best defenses overall, but one of the best secondaries in the league. Imagine if we had a dominant pass rusher. Can you imagine that? Like a young, dominant pass rush, like on the rise, like he's getting after
like
your quarterback. A game.
I'm pushing Oweh. I'm pushing Oweh freaking prop all off season this year.
I was pushing him the last 2 off seasons. I've been pushing the last 2 off seasons, and it's like we just have not seen it yet. And I hear all these articles come out and people out of the Ravens camp say, "Oh yeah, Odafe Oweh, he's a real game wrecker. He can really mix things up. He's a disruptive player." And it's like, okay, all of that is cool. But like when your primary position is outside linebacker, edge rusher, I need to see you get the quarterback on the turf. I just do, and preferably the grass. I would just love to see that. It's just, it doesn't amount to much if you're not getting those sack numbers, if you're not sending the play to the next down. Yes, he can set the edge really well. Yes, he has some good speed to run down a scrambling quarterback. I understand that. But when it comes to these 2nd and long, 3rd and long, other teams got to have it situations, that needs to be where you make your money. You know what I mean? Like, get that sack, turn the ball over, force a fumble, do something. You know, like I saw a lot of promise in that the late stages of that Chiefs game, I think in 2021, Odafe Oweh's rookie year, when he makes the game-winning play, punching that ball out from Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and turning the ball over to the Ravens. That was when I thought, okay, this guy is about to make that huge jump. He's about to be our guy. He's going to be relentless, and it never really panned out that way. And I know he's productive. Picked up his 5th-year option for a reason. I get he's productive. I know he does good things on the football field. But just to have that dominant edge rusher would be everything for the Ravens defense. It would.
Yeah, I'm glad Jason's in here right now because I remember he was talking about like the whole Oweh and Ojabo thing, and he made a really good point about Ojabo. Like when Ojabo was playing, in however many games, how many snaps, 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, in like what, 3 games? Like he produced in those 3 games he was healthy. So it's like if he can really stay healthy, who knows what we got with him? Like we may have got ourselves a gem, but availability is the best ability. So, but with going back to Oweh, I mean, we picked up the 5th year for a reason. So I need 10 this year. I really do. I need 10 sacks this year, minimum. I need it. So,
well, how many did he have last year?
Go
like
out
3,
there.
4.
I think it was more.
Let's see.
5.
So,
5.
yeah, 5.
5 sacks.
Okay, yeah, that's not
Double
gonna
that.
cut it. 5.5, says Yolanda. Okay, that's not gonna cut it. Definitely
miss
double.
4. He missed 4 games, to be fair, and then he played. Oh, he only played 6 snaps in the last game of the year against Pittsburgh. So only played 14 against Tennessee. So
yeah, I mean,
who knows what we can get from healthy.
He's got 13 sacks over the course of his career. There's guys who get that in a season. You know what I mean? Like literally, Matabike, like an interior D lineman. Are you serious? Doubling you up in sacks? Are you serious right now? That is, man. I mean, if we didn't have Matabike, I'd be on Oweh's ass even more. Honestly, I would. But no, man, this is the year. I mean, Tanja, she hits the nail on the head. He says, "Oh, we're gonna put it together this season. We didn't get anyone to compete against him. This is the time. He's got to get home and wrap up." I agree. I mean, something's got to give here, right? It's about time. It's about time. I think Oweh and see, Jason says he's guessing he's gonna have 8 this year. I like that. You said 10. You said double digits. I was thinking more of like 7 to 8, that sort of thing. 8, and just make some really plays. Yeah.
8 with like 2 or 3 forced fumbles. I'm cool with that. I'm 100% cool with that.
There you go.
And let me get 1 or 2 of them in the playoffs as well. Because Matabike got me 1 in the Chiefs game last year. So I'm cool with that.
Wait, Beeks had a forced fumble in that game?
He had a sack that game.
He had a sack. Okay. How about to say he had a forced fumble?
Yeah.
I remember that. Okay.
No, we didn't. We couldn't cause a turnover against them for the life of us.
Insane. Okay. All right. That Odafe, though, I think Odafe, Oweh, and Rashad Bateman are in the same boat this year in terms of like what they need to do to produce and kind of get that second contract. Do you agree there?
Yeah. Who do you have more? Well, Bate got the contract, but I feel like if he does have a good year this year, next year, I feel like they can definitely re-sign him and give him more money because he's in a great. If he balls out, I say these next 2 years, he's in line for a good contract, and he'll still be relatively young. Yeah. He'll be, 26 or 27, reaching his prime. Yeah. He'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, we got to target him more this year. That's what it comes down to. Okay. Let's go ahead and shift gears here to another topic that I did not tell Alex about before we went live, but I wanted to bring it up. I don't know if you've seen this topic kind of swirling around on the socials in the past couple of days. Hold on. I don't know why it's playing this video again, but yeah, it was a conversation surrounding NFL players and NBA players, right? I don't know if this is ringing a bell already for anybody, but
Austin
the
Rivers.
conversation, yes, Austin Rivers. There was a quote, an infamous quote. Some would argue that he was saying that, you know what? I'll just pull it up so you guys can read it along here with us.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so you guys can see up here. This is. Let me put it on the screen so you can see. This is Austin Rivers here. He has a kind of a wild take. He says, I can take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA. Again, this is former NBA player and son of Doc Rivers, Austin Rivers. Alex, what do you think about that? Do you think that you can take 30 NBA players and put them into the NFL and they would actually be productive, or what?
Can't take linemen, number one. All right. linemen, you got to rule all them out, number one. And I hate to say it.
Yeah.
I did see that one tape of Zay Flowers balling.
Yeah.
This is a great like barbershop debate. This is a great one.
It is. I mean, see, here's what I think. I think that since football is a full contact sport and basketball is a non-contact sport, I don't think that you could take 30 NBA players and just thrust them into the NFL and they would be productive. One in a way, because they're not used to getting hit, right? Because the first time one of these guys gets hit, it's going to rattle them. It's going to scramble their brain, and their recovery from that is going to take longer than that of somebody who's been playing football their whole life. That's just how it goes. That's the difference between these two sports. NFL is a brutal sport, right? In the NBA, there's a foul called on you if you even put a hand on a guy. Literally, you're not even allowed to touch guys anymore, hardly, in the NBA. And guys cry and complain when they get, a shoulder check or anything like that in the NBA, in basketball. NFL is totally different. They're not withstanding the hits. They're not creating separation. I don't care who you put at wide receiver, right? Like, I don't care if you put, let's say LeBron James at wide receiver or tight end, right? Now, LeBron James, he might be a bad example because I think he could actually play some football. LeBron is that dude. But for the majority of these NBA players, they're not tough enough. Nor do they have the wherewithal to have the smarts to know how to play football at the highest level. So yeah, that's my take on it. But what do you got?
I'm right there with. I mean, just like this debate is so old. Taking 30, like, why? Okay, as an NBA player, right? Why would you want to play football? Number one, have you seen the contracts the bench players get? Honestly, you get these. You're making more money than like some star NFL players, and you're less wear and tear, like contact wise on your body. But yeah, I don't get it. I don't see it.
My thing is, like, you can take 30 NFL players, not NFL. You can take 30 NBA players and put them in the NFL. Like, yeah, they can go suit up, right? They can put the head and the pads on and everything like that, and they can trot out there and they can learn a couple of plays and whatnot. But like, again, it's the physicality of it all. It's the violence that comes with the sport. You have to love that. You have to want that. You have to be able to wake up and smell the coffee and just long for that sort of interaction with another grown man. You know what I mean? Like, just every 90 seconds, you're getting into it and trying to physically dominate another man. That's what it boils down to. I don't think that basketball players are at all built for that. No, they're built for the non-contact. They're built to be more finesse oriented when it comes to their sport, as opposed to football. It's just more brute force a lot of the time. There's finesse as well, but there's a lot more brute force. And there's a reason why Roquan Smith takes smelling salts on the sideline. You have to get fired up to play a game like this because it's crazy. It's a crazy game. It's crazy dangerous, and I don't think that NBA players are ready for that. Period.
I'll tell you this right now. You can take your NBA players, the rugby players that are coming to the NFL, I'm taking them over the NBA players in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Ain't out heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
Like the one guy the Chiefs got. I don't want him to do good for the Chiefs, but I hope he makes the team because I watch his highlights, bro. I didn't realize rugby. I know it's like that, but bro, that he's fast as hell. He's taking hits without the pads, running through people. Insane, insane, dude. So that's
Jason says here. Jason says here, no power forwards could play tight end. How many, if so? I mean, I think that they could play tight end, but how often are they going to? I think that you can plug in probably a lot of power forwards at tight end. Why? Because they're big, they're tall, right? But honestly, if a tight end is coming over the middle or catching a ball where he knows there's some heat coming, I think that a good 6 to 7 times out of 10 they drop that football again because they're not used to the physicality. You know what I mean? Like if you go up and you leave your feet to catch a football, all 6'8" of you, and power forwards nowadays get all the way up to 6'10", maybe even 7 feet, damn near. You are going to get folded like a lawn chair. That is prime real estate that is prime real estate for a Roquan Smith to literally fold you like a lawn chair and put you down, and like these guys aren't that big. They're not that strong either to be taking these hits, especially not in the midsection. So yeah, sure, Jason, power forwards could play tight end in the NFL, but they wouldn't be effective. They would not be very effective. Yes, they're big. Yes, they're tall, but they don't have the physicality to withstand the hits that they would take and the punishment that they would take to those long and lanky bodies. And he says he was thinking more older school power forwards.
Oh.
Sure, but I still don't think that they would be. I still don't think that I think the catching would be an issue. I think catching the football would be an issue for power forwards of generation, to be honest with you.
I want to know how many NBA players would not get pancaked by Pat Ricard running at them full steam. That's a question I want to have answered.
I mean,
if he's doing it to grown men, grown DNs, grown linebackers in the NFL, I want to know how many NBA players can at least take the hit and stay on their feet because that number has to be low.
Right. It's got to be very low, astronomically low, even. Okay.
Austin Rivers, you're up.
It's Austin Rivers, right? Yeah. Show us what you got, bro. Show us what you got. All right. But that was that piece. I just wanted to kind of bring that up. I thought it was a pretty fun conversation I saw on Twitter. I wanted to get your take on it, Alex. So now let's go ahead and get into some questions, shall we? Let's go ahead and throw some questions down in the live chat. Again, thank you guys so much for joining this episode 238 of the Purple Rain Podcast. Please, 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 please make sure you like this video. Leave a like on this video. And if you are new here and you're enjoying this episode, you're enjoying the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. We've got a lot more Ravens content coming for you. Even though it is the dead of the offseason, like we mentioned before, we still got content dropping. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell too, so you know when we go live. We go live every Monday and Thursdays, anytime between like 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., things like that. Thank you, Yolanda. Hit the like, and go check out Yolanda's channel as well. Now, I have one more thing. I have a question I want to ask you before we get into questions from the Rain Gang. And guys, make sure, again, drop your questions. It can be about football. It doesn't have to be about football. It can be about literally anything. You can ask us anything about anything. You can ask us what we ate today. I don't care. You can ask us anything about anything. Now, look, I saw a video the other day, Alex, of an interview between John Harbaugh, Ravens head coach, and Rich Eisen. Everybody knows Rich Eisen. Now, you know which one I'm about to bring up. I posted about it in a short. What really pissed me off about this interview is John Harbaugh acting like, yeah, I mean, we know all the answers in the game against the Chiefs. We knew what they were doing, and it just wasn't in the game plan to make adjustments and try to go for that win. We wanted to be stubborn and kind of do things the way that we planned on doing them going in. And I'm just like, for a Super Bowl winning head coach, you can say some dumb ass shit out of your mouth sometimes. Like, it's just the way that comes off so tone deaf. And I wish I had the clip pulled up right here, but essentially he says something along the lines of Rich Eisen asks him what happened in the AFC Championship game. Do you still think about that thing? That sort of thing. And Harbaugh's response was, Yeah, Steve Spagnuolo, who's the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, he did a good job at basically playing man-to-man across the board and loading the box, and we could have won that either two ways, either in the passing game, or we could have just ran the ball on their throat, brute force, that sort of thing. Something that we've been doing all season, something we specialize in. But he said that was not the plan going into the game. So we stuck with trying to throw the ball all over the yard, and that didn't work, So I'm just, I don't know. I know you heard the interview. I want to hear your take on that. Yeah, what are your thoughts about Harbaugh saying that he knew the answer to beating the Chiefs, but we just decided not to switch game plans?
I'm grateful we are not a franchise like the Browns that will go through a bunch of coaches. Granted, with Stefanski, they have a good one. Not a coach like the Raiders. No, not a franchise like the Raiders, where coach after coach after coach after coach. Not a franchise, that switches coaches a lot. But when he says stuff like this, it kind of just reinforced that he's scared of the Chiefs. You're scared to switch. Like, are you scared to make adjustments? You have Gus Edwards, you had Gus, who was, who can run effectively. Who else was it? I mean, Justice Hill he had a pretty good end of the season. I thought he was breaking off some runs as well. I just don't get it. Like, what do you gain out of saying that? And to me, it just seems like it's something with the Chiefs with Reed and Spagnuolo, and how he was saying, he should be a head coach. Stop giving them their praises, bro. Like, grab your nuts and you got to beat them. They're the ones who have been lifting the Lombardis. They're the ones who have been lifting the AFC Championship. Hell, the Bengals got one more recently than us. You had everything you needed last year to win, and it is so frustrating to hear him say these type of things because he lacks that killer instinct as a coach to me sometimes. And you're there at home, you 17-10. Mike McDonald, who should be taking your position, should be taking your job, did everything he could, held them to 0 points in the second half.
Yeah, I just don't.
He says that the boxes were consistently loaded. We could have run. Should have ran in 2020, 2019, 2023. Greg Roman, Todd Monken, how Marty Morning Week. What's the main common denominator? Oh, Mickey Harbaugh. Pisses me off.
Yeah. And the fact that I know, me too. But the fact that now we have Derrick Henry running the football. There's literally no excuse. There is no excuse of, we didn't feel like we had the guys to really kind of just run it down their throat at will, that sort of thing. But now that we have Derrick Henry, there's no more excuses. I mean, I don't want to hear that. If we make it back to an AFC Championship game and we get into an ugly type of game with the Chiefs or the Texans or the Bengals, whoever it is, I want to see us run that damn football and play our game. Stop trying to get cute and play somebody else's game when that's not what's going to get us to the championship. Like you got the dance who you came to the prom with. That's the whole moniker that people say, right? Man, that was so tone deaf from Harbaugh, man. So tone deaf. Let me see. Boz says here, Mike Tomlin seems to be the same way sometimes, apart from firing Matt Canada and benching Lenny last season, which was unlike him. Yeah, he made some pretty interesting decisions, some pretty unusual decisions from Mike Tomlin last year. I remember. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's just these coaches when they get into their old ages, no?
No, and it's a great point because I was thinking, I remember when last won the Super Bowl in 2012, a long time ago. Hell, that was a long time ago. But I just pulled out the box score. Ray Rice had 19 rushing attempts for 48 yards and 1 touchdown. Bernard Pierce had 9 carries for 52 yards.
That's 28 carries right there.
Ran the ball 28 times that game.
Yeah.
And then Flacco threw it 36 times. Hell, Flacco ran 3 for 12 times. 3 carries, 12 yards. So
our game.
Yeah, we ran it and passed it effectively. We did 2 things intertwined in the biggest game before the Super Bowl, and it worked.
Yeah.
What
What's
in their
stopping
house.
us now?
We aren't good in the playoffs at home. Like, I don't know what it is. We just aren't that team at home, and it feels like, and it's felt
We weren't
like
that good against the Texans, even though we won.
I trust. Yeah, like that first half, we were the second best team. I thought the defense was good. The offense was pitiful. Offense was poor. Defense saved our ass that game. Yeah, and then we just had more quality than them. I think in our team that year ran away in the second half. So I don't know. It's just something has got to change. Something has got to happen. I hope Mashadi sees it. Because EDC built the team. I will have no gripes about that team last year. EDC did what he had to do.
Yeah, he did. Can you still hear me, Alex?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, man, it's just super disappointing to hear that coming from your head coach. And again, it's only May, so we're gonna overreact to pretty much everything that we see coming out of Ravens camp.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. I think rightfully so, we deserve to feel that way because in a lot of ways, I feel like a lot of Ravens fans, and I think I can speak for all of us when we say we felt robbed of last season. Like for us to do what we did, beating 10 teams in the regular season that had an over 500 record and beating them badly, and then getting to the playoffs and just kind of, again, falling kind of flat. Again, we won that game against the Texans in the divisional round, but that was like a gotta have it. If you don't win this game, you might as well just blow it up. That was one of those. I think at halftime, it was like, okay, literally, that might have been our Super Bowl, to be honest with you. Getting over that divisional round hump, that might have been our Super Bowl.
Yeah, the one seed curse.
Like, I think it was something like that. So, again, sounded tone deaf from Harbs. Hopefully, going into next season with the addition of Derrick Henry, we won't have to get away from playing our game because we have, quote unquote, the king of running backs in Derrick Henry. But yeah, just wanted to bring that up. Again, guys, listen, make sure that you throw your questions down in the comment section. Put them in the comment section. We want to get to those as well. But I think we're going to go ahead and wrap here for this episode 238 of the Purple Rain podcast, almost an hour in. Thank you guys so much for joining. My name is Sutton Def. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Sutton Def. You can follow this guy, Simply AS10, on Twitter at Simply AS10, or on Instagram at simplyas10.prod. Now, listen, we're in the dead of the off season again, like I said before, but there's still content coming out over here, baby. So make sure you stay locked into the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel because we ain't going nowhere. Okay. And I'm gonna just leave it at that. With that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out.
Yes, thank you very, very much for coming through to episode 238 of the Purple Rain Podcast. And as always, even with my raspy voice, stay positive. That's negative.
Yeah, and never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been episode 238 of the Purple Rain Podcast. Listen, make sure you're checking in on your friends. Make sure you're checking in on your family. Sorry for the feedback right there. But listen, we got to make sure that we're checking on each other. All right, PRP 238, we out.